Hey, deserved listeners, 90-Day Fiancé bears all. Let's watch.
You know, I've reached a certain point in my life. I want to make a change.
Yes, it's like, okay, I want to think about me. I want to start having fun doing what I want to do. Maybe I need a new look to change my attitude, maybe, and see what's out there. I'm on dating apps.
Debbie's on dating apps.
So this might be a really great thing for all concerned. If Debbie has a social life, it will help her with her self-esteem. Looks like she has had a makeover, and this will help to alleviate Colt's anxiety maybe of, okay, I don't have to be her only person in this world, and it'll help for Colt and Vanessa to have more emotional autonomy and space themselves. So, you know, maybe this is a great thing.
Show some skin. Usually she's like an oversized shirt and oversized jeans.
Cat t-shirt.
Yeah. I'm like, we need to show off a
people
little
are going to say,
skin.
oh, you're too old to wear that. But you know what? I don't care.
Okay, Colt.
Hi.
I would say that, like, if you didn't know her.
So I didn't catch that entirely, but it sounded like Debbie was saying that people on the internet were saying that she's too old to wear something. People need to knock that off. It's like the age fashion police or something. People can dress how they want to dress. So let's not shame people for dressing how they want to dress. It's their body. It's their clothes. They can do what they want.
A heated argument with Big Ed. Let's take a look back at that moment.
My only fear is that, Vanessa, you might be marrying Debbie. I think it's time for Colt to get off the nipple, and you need to stop fighting.
Oh, fuck you. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, Big Ed is parroting or exhibiting a very common criticism that Colt is a mama's boy. You know, I've already been over this, but it's this shaming of men having close relationships with their moms. Why? Now, if the advice is Colt feels trapped by the mom's neediness and Colt deserves to have his own life, okay, you know. But I don't think Colt is entirely 100% on board with that idea. I think he's like, well, you know, I want to be there for my mom, and I love my mom. You know, he likes spending time with her. He lives with her. It's fine. But on the other hand, it sounds like he also would like a little bit of space. But I think Colt's okay with it. I think he's like, look, you know, I like my mom, and we've been through a lot together, and I don't mind. So I don't think either argument makes sense to me.
Fuck you.
Thank you very much.
You get off the nipple. Why don't you go find somebody your own age instead of this precious little girl here you're trying to... Yeah.
And that I don't agree with either. Liz is a grown woman in her, I don't know, late 20s who can, you know, think for herself and date who she wants to date. Now, you can make an argument that she has issues in her past that led her to downplay her own needs and attracted her to someone that was harmful to her. I don't know. But she's a grown woman and she can date who she wants to date. And she's not a 13-year-old child. So there's that. And people can date people of various ages. You know, if Debbie met someone who was I think Debbie's in her 60s or something, if she met someone in their 40s, is that criminal? Is there something wrong with that? No, it's fine. Age difference is fine. But, you know, beyond a certain age, as soon as you reach a certain age, if you're, you know, if you're a 30-year-old with a 75-year-old, it's fine. It's nothing. So they're both attacking each other on the real common cultural, what's a word for it? Cultural misunderstanding, you know, that's based on a flawed philosophy of life. You know, there are things about our culture that are great, like murder is bad, and pushing someone down the stairs is bad, and harming an underdog is bad, and yelling at someone in public for no reason is bad. And you know, there are things that as a culture we understand that are bad that make sense to me and are right-headed based on a certain philosophy of do no harm and to enhance the world. You know, age difference in relationships has nothing to do with that. And being close to your mom has nothing to do with that.
What, this has nothing to do with you. This is his life.
You just told him to get off the nipple. How is that involved? How
You
does
are
that
coddling
work?
him. You are babying him. He's never
And
going to
your
grow
mother
up.
doesn't baby you by brushing
just-
your hair, putting the mayonnaise in your hair. She doesn't do that.
Okay.
So you have no right to give advice to
So I'm reminded of all the rhetoric. So the rhetoric around Colt and Debbie is that Debbie is coddling him. Huh? He's a grown man. You could argue that she's retained her mothering, what do I think about this? So does it ruin Colt that Debbie still treats her son like a son, even though he's a grown man? Does it ruin him? I would argue no. Because is he trapped because, I've been talking already about, I think, why they bonded. And, I'm guessing that they're also both they know they're socially awkward. They seem a little socially awkward. Social awkwardness often gets passed down through the generations. There's nothing wrong with being socially awkward. It's just, some people are just very adept in social situations, some people aren't. And you kind of learn that from your parents. And so that can, cause some difficulty in meeting. Usually it's just great to meet other socially awkward people, Anyway, so yeah, this idea that she coddled him or something, and there's just, I think, more fuel for the stigma around adult people being, close to their parents.
What about that?
Well, I mean, he shouldn't talk because, I mean, his mother was there. His mother babies him more than I baby Colt.
You think so?
Well, I mean, she shaves his back for him when he's naked in the bathtub. She combs his hair. She puts mayonnaise in his hair. She lives with him. She takes care of him.
Does she live with him? I didn't know that. But either way, it's fine. I do not understand. And I think it's particularly American, honestly, that maybe it's around the world. Let me know. Is this stigma around the world? Because in the United States, we have this incredible stigma around parents, particularly moms helping their sons. What if it was a father helping his daughter, a father helping his son? What? So Ed's mom helps him, shaves his back. Okay, you'd be like, oh, gross. Yeah, why is it gross? What's wrong with someone helping someone out? It's not sexual. I think we all understand that, right? Like Ed and his mom are not having some kind of incestuous relationship, right? So it's fine, it's like, what am I thinking of? So, I'm not trying to defend the right for moms to shave their sons' backs. Put that on a t-shirt. That's not my mission. My mission is to defend people's needs, which often involves physical touch with your family members. And that our society tends to look at that, particularly when it's between family members, particularly when I think it's between parents and maybe, cross-gender touching, for a dad and his grown daughter to cuddle and watch a movie together. Like, it would be instantly sexualized by society when it's like the rest of the world there are parts of the world that are not quite as phobic about it. Now, again, I'm not saying you're supposed to do that. It's the only way to achieve your needs. But this idea of like everything is a sexual thing. Can it be a sexual thing? Yeah, and that happens. Sexual abuse happens even between adults and their adult parents. I've treated many victims and perpetrators, for that matter, who have abused their children. I'm very well aware of the abuse that happens and the real sexualization of children that is wrong and extremely harmful, very traumatic. It happens. But this generalization to anything that's happening between parents and their children that has to do with touch is somehow disgusting. And for you parents out there who have young kids, you understand how special it is and how many needs are involved in you and your children to be able to cuddle, to be able to hug, to be able to help. That your kid needs you to put a Band-Aid on their ankle, and you get down there and you put that Band-Aid on. It enhances their life, and it gives you the chance to help. It's something that you absolutely need. That doesn't stop when the kid turns 13. So that kind of human. Let me put it this way. If we didn't have this stigma, I'm guessing we would have a lot more warmth and compassion and love, physical touching, non-sexual physical touching. And we would have, as a result of that, much less depression, much less anxiety, much less loneliness, much less anger in the world. I think there's a lot of data pointing in that direction. So when we shame Ed and his mom, we are participating in that. It's sort of like when we understand and we're becoming more aware that you can't body shame people. You can't look at a politician who's a woman and say like, look at how she, or you can't look at a 25-year-old attractive woman walking down the street and like slut shame her for something she's wearing. Like, people are allowed to dress if they want to dress, and saying, well, she was a victim of sexual assault, she deserved it, that kind of thing. We all understand that that's wrong. 50 years ago, we didn't know, generally speaking, we didn't know it was wrong. Now we understand because we're aware. It's like, no, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, the same applies to if you are body shaming a politician that you don't like, or a public figure, or someone on the show that you don't like. Body shaming in general is wrong. Racism in general is wrong. Prejudice in general is wrong. Oppression in general is wrong. Sexism in general is wrong. We can't pick and choose our body shaming. We can't pick and choose our touch shaming. We can't say like, well, I want to be allowed to, freely have a warm and occasionally physical warmth relationship with my son, but I'm going to shame Ed and his mom. Like, we can't have both. We have to say it's all okay. And there's nothing unhealthy or gross or stigmatizable about any of it, because it's fine. Because when we do participate in that kind of shaming, we're sending a very strong message to ourselves and everyone around us that is ridiculable and there's something wrong with it. Now, Ed has behaviors that you can ridicule. There are politicians that you can ridicule for other reasons other than their body, other than, certain aspects of their lifestyle, for sure.
So it kind of involves me. I have a right to defend the nipple.
Do you see yourself living with Colt and Vanessa for the foreseeable future?
Oh, hell no.
No?
No.
Right, that's been her attitude. I think she's more ambivalent than she's exhibiting. I'm guessing that there's a part of her that would really miss being with Colt. She's been with Colt her whole life. But I'm also guessing, as she's exhibited in the past, that she wants to be free. She doesn't want to be stuck. And as she's had this makeover, she's going on the single life, she's starting to date. I'm guessing that she is now looking forward in the future with this, brighter vision of the future. And so to her, it's like, I'm looking to my next relationships. I have confidence. I feel like I can achieve that. I don't have to cling on to Colt because I have other options. I'm not depressed anymore. That's something to think about this. The cast members of the show is that something like 50% of people will be diagnosable by a DSM diagnosis at some point in their life. And I think about a third of people are suffering currently from a DSM diagnosis. And very common diagnoses are anxiety and depression. Generalized anxiety, phobias, PTSD, OCD, major depression, bipolar, persistent mood issues are extremely common. And so a good percentage of the cast members on the show might be suffering from one or more of them. And so it's interesting to think about like who probably were legitimately depressed while they were on the show. I think Debbie could have been one of those people in the beginning when we first met her, especially in contrast to the kind of vibe I'm getting from her right now. She could have been really stuck in a life that was very depressing, and the loss of her husband, holding on to that what do you call those things? The gambling machine? What do you call them? Slot machine. Which is fine to hold on to that, but I'm just reminded of the amount of pain that seemed to be just below the surface for the family, and particularly for her.
The next thing I know, he's telling me to stop talking, and okay.
The green elephant really sets the mood, I guess.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, so we're learning that for Debbie, she also talks a lot when she is having sex, and realizing that now as well. So it sounds like there's probably, if we were to hypothesize a connection between her and Colt, there would be maybe she's saying that she does it out of nervousness. And I wonder if that's true for Colt as well. Because one of the things that Vanessa and Colt were saying was that Colt doesn't only want to talk about sex. He just wants to talk about anything. And some people are like that. It's not extremely common, but it's common enough that some people, the way that they deal with their nervousness is to talk. And they'll just say anything. And it is a holdover from when we're children and we're in unsafe situations. There's various different ways that people will gravitate towards behavior-wise to feel a little bit safer. You know, some people will bite their fingernails, some people will pace, some people will daydream, some people will drink, smoke pot, some people will have sex, some people will talk. And it's just a way of like, or some people will rock back and forth, which is another thing people will do. Some people self-injure. You know, there's a lot of different things that humans and frankly other animals will resort to when they're in chronic stress, and talking is one of them. And so maybe for Debbie, she learned that when she was young, who knows, and or maybe initial sexual activities with Debbie in the beginning involved dealing with nervousness through talking and saying things. And maybe for Colt, he observed that behavior not during sex, obviously, but just, you know, when she's nervous, she talks a lot, and maybe he acquired that as well. Anyway, I'm just hypothesizing.
Okay, so you're talking about this LED light and the green elephant. Colt, you're talking about what?
It could be anything, like a scenario. So maybe like, you know, she's a cocktail waitress or whatever. So maybe like I have a hotel room.
So they're really talking about different things. For Debbie, she's saying that when she gets nervous during sex, she talks and says things. And for Colt, maybe Colt, again, just who knows, but he both talks to alleviate nervousness, but he also will talk to create fantasies during sex, and that turns him on, and you know, that sort of thing. Sounds maybe like that's the case. Both are fine. It's also fine that Vanessa's like, I don't like to do that.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think you can maybe stop the talking? Do you think you could talk less?
Oh, I think I've been talking a lot less.
You do talk during sex
still.
You like that? You like that? Yes, I like it. Come on, let's go.
I want.
What about?
All right, so that's interesting. I don't know, but having talked with a lot of couples around this issue, there's some minor yellow flags that when Colt, at least at times, is asking questions, he's like, do you like that? Do you like that? He's actually looking for confirmation that she likes it. A big part of, you know, mutually satisfying sexual activity is mutual enjoyment. And do you like that? Another thing that people will engage in is, I want to hear, you know, what it does to you. A big part of sex between, you know, for humans is being inside the other person's mind, knowing where they're coming from. You know, we tend to, especially when we're talking about men, you know, male sexuality, where it's usually very mechanical and cold. But almost everyone, regardless of gender, we're turned on, or our sexuality is involved with empathy, with mirror neurons, and with understanding, like, where are you coming from? Are you into this or not? Are you not into this? And when everything's working right, then people are turned on by the other person being turned on. This can get, pathology, or people can develop pathologies where they actually enjoy having sex with people who don't like having sex with them. You know, these are sexual sadists, which are terrible individuals who do terrible, terrible things. Not all the time. Sometimes they can, what do I say here? So there are people who, for whatever reason, developmentally, genetically, are situated such that they actually might only be able to get sexual pleasure when someone else is in pain and is not consenting. And those individuals can sometimes recognize their desire and say, I shouldn't do that because that's wrong. This is what turns me on, but I don't want to harm other people. I don't want to commit a crime. And so they won't do it, but other people will. Anyway, point is that I wonder if for that would be the question I'd ask them. I'd say, okay, I'm just hearing something here. Colt, when you're asking, what are you hoping for? Are you trying to get inside of her mind? Are you trying to like please her? Are you looking? Because sometimes what is happening for the Colts of the world is they're like, are you into this? Because I'm not getting any confirmation that you like doing this, that you're turned on or anything. Like it turns me on when you're turned on. And so. Do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this? And for the Vanessas of the world, now they might be like, yeah, I just don't like to answer those kinds of questions. This just kind of pulls me out of it. I just want to kind of be nonverbal and that's okay. But maybe for Vanessa, which I've talked with people in this position before, that they're insecure because they've had tremendous amount of sexual shame. And so when in bed, when someone says, do you like this? It really trips them up. There's like, wait, we can talk about, I just want to have sex and like ignore that this is really happening because I'm so terrified of what it means to have sex. And I have so many like fears around sex. And so for you to like casually ask me a question or have a conversation during sex, it's like, it's too much for me. And which is okay, but wouldn't it be great if you didn't have that kind of fear? I don't know if that's Vanessa's situation. There's a very good possibility that she's just like, yeah, I just don't like to talk, which is fine. I just don't understand this ridicule of Colt. Again, if you hate Colt and you want to ridicule him for his bad behavior, totally fine. But we can't ridicule Colt for his sexual preferences and then say you can't ridicule people for their sexual preferences, but it's okay if we ridicule Colt for his sexual. It's not okay anytime. Anyone can have their sexual preferences.
What about that? You need a lot of like reassurance.
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 Yes.
Okay.
I've literally told them before, I'm like, I want you to shut the fuck up and just fuck me.
That was his reaction.
Which is okay. She can have her preferences 100%. So can he. And the ability to value each other's preferences and take care of each other. For him to look at her and go like, okay, she doesn't like to talk that much. What can we do here? It sounds like maybe he already has done that because he said that he has reduced. And for her to say, well, he likes to talk a lot. So I don't. I also don't like to have sex over this period of time, but he does. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to do it, but I love him and I don't want to ridicule him.
Fuck.
I've learned my lesson. If I shut up, times are usually better.
Yeah.
Right.
Both during sex and otherwise.
Wow. Okay. Stick around for more with Colt, Debbie, and Vanessa.
Okay, so it sounds like Colt has adjusted, and it sounds like he's okay with that, which is fine. It's frequently the situation for couples, particularly as time goes on, that they will often have to, adjust to, mesh with the other person. So it sounds like he's made that adjustment, which is fine. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.